In this episode, we're going to cover the tragedy that was the Minneapolis shooting. Let's see what both sides are saying. Listen to a theory by RFK Jr. about the medications that the shooter was taking, and also what the mainstream media isn't telling you. All this and more on the Vazquez Report, and it happens right now. Now let's hear the announcement of the initial tragedy where 2 children lost their lives and 17 more were injured at Annunciation Catholic High School in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Said it spoke to a parent who was sitting in a back pew when mass started at 8:15 local time, and that's when a shooter, this person reported a shooter opening fire outside the building with a semi-automatic weapon. The outlet also quotes the parent as saying this, quote, "He just pepper sprayed through the stained glass windows into the building, 50 to 100 shots." The outlet also said the parent reported witnessing 2 casualties.
My initial thought is, could this have been prevented? If there was a SRO, could they have stopped the shooter before anyone got killed or hurt? We'll get into more of that later. As you would expect from a left-leaning city and a left-leaning mayor, they basically condemned the whole thoughts and prayers that should go out to the families who suffered during this horrendous tragedy. Let's see what the Minneapolis mayor said.
And don't just say this is about thoughts and prayers right now. These kids were literally praying. It was the first week of school. They were in a church. These are kids that should be learning with their friends. They should be playing on the playground. They should be able to go to school or church in peace without the fear or risk of violence, and their parents should have the same kind of assurance. These are the sort of basic assurances that every family should have, every step of the day, regardless of where they are in our country.
My initial reaction is, why condemn prayer? These people are grieving. They have families that will no longer be the same after this shit happened to them. Why are you condemning prayer? It makes no sense to me. If anything, you should condemn the crazy people who let this person do this in the first place. In light of the tragedy that happened in Minneapolis, J.D. Vance has a strong rebuke for those who are condemning prayer when prayer is needed in times such as this. Let's listen to what he had to say.
Will, if you are a politician or you're a media commentator and 2 beautiful babies just got murdered while praying and your politics force you to condemn prayer in response to it, you ought to get new politics because something very wrong has gone on inside your soul.
Honestly, I couldn't have said it any better myself. If your politics make you condemn prayer when prayer is needed in times such as this, you need to change your politics because something is wrong with your soul. I'd like to know your thoughts on J.D. Vance's rebuke in the comment section below. As you probably would have expected, the left-leaning mainstream media is asking for more stringent gun control laws and are blaming Donald Trump. In the response to the tragedy that happened in Minneapolis, 2 children died and 17 more were injured, and several more are fighting for their lives. Let's hear what the left-leaning mainstream media say in response. Check it out.
We as a country are left to contend with the same damning fact that has lingered over us for decades. That of the most developed and richest nations in the world, the United States has by far the highest rate of gun violence. And that is in no small part due to a point Mayor Fry just made. We have by far the most guns per capita than any other country, just over 120 guns for every 100 people. More guns than people. And we once again grapple with this national crisis. We can't ignore what is also happening in the background. Donald Trump has deployed thousands of federal troops to the nation's capital to combat what he has declared a crime emergency.
And as I mentioned during a TikTok post where I kind of lost it and I basically called Jen Psaki a piece of shit because she is, here is that post right here, just so you know. I had to make this post after the aftermath of the Minneapolis shooting. And the post is, Jen Psaki is a piece of fucking shit. I can't believe that she would do this and politicize the death of 2 babies. What is wrong with you? And saying that thoughts and prayers aren't enough? You gotta pray to God in situations like this. These families are grieving. Their babies are dead. The fuck is your problem? Have some compassion. Have a soul, you piece of shit. How do you feel about the left-leaning mainstream media's opinion with regard to the tragedy that happened in Minneapolis? Do you feel like Donald Trump was to blame? The gun control laws in Minnesota or in Minneapolis in general are bad and need to be replaced? I'd like to know your thoughts and perspective in the comment section below. While the left-leaning mainstream media and Democrats in general are saying that, oh, it's Donald Trump's fault, it's President Trump's fault, and we need more stringent gun control laws. And watch John Jones, a combat veteran, on Fox News, in particular the show The Five, rebuke every single thing that they can say when it comes to gun control and lack thereof, leading to this tragedy. It's a very interesting take, and he goes into very good detail. Listen to the percentages and exactly what he's saying.
Make sure they didn't have those guns if he treated transgender identity problems as mental health problems, which is exactly what it is. I'm sorry. You want me to prove I'm not evil to own a gun, but I'm a bigot because I want you to prove you're not crazy because you want to change your identity. Those two things don't line up for you. I don't get 5%, 20 million AR style guns in this country. 20 million of 400 million guns in this country. Only 4% of guns used in homicide are rifles, and that's a much bigger category than AR. So what you're saying is you want me to ban 5% of the guns in this country that are used in 4% of the homicides, and that's going to save our kids. No. Is it going to stop incidents like this? Probably not, because they're already out there. What it's going to do is it's going to stop people from like me from going and buying a gun from someone I know to be law-abiding to use to hunt with or protect my house. That's my right. That's the right of 350 million Americans. The National Guard for these incidents is gun control. How about I tell you this? 183 kids died in Illinois last year on average, so could have been more last year, from gun violence. More than half of those were handguns. 50 children died in D.C. from gun violence, mostly handguns. In that same period of time, less than 210 children died in what we would call a mass shooting, and not all of those were from an AR. Why do I bring this up? It's not in some major defense of AR. It's to say that Democrats are absolutely 100% not at all concerned with saving the lives of children. So now they're going to go after 5% of guns used in 4% of homicides at best, because that's the political win. But the actual win, the saving children's lives, is what Trump's doing in D.C. right now. The actual win, the saving children's lives, is mandating fortification of our most precious individuals in this country. We can't pony up to put an RSO at every school to make sure every school has an armed guard out front of it. No, that makes our gun feel like prisons. Okay, pay attention to this narrative about fortifying the places like schools that matter, because 5% of guns used in 4% of homicides, banning those, no, that's bullcrap. I'll go to bed tonight and thank God on my knees that don't exist anymore, that my child is still alive, and any Democrat politician that says I'm wrong for that.
Thoughts and prayers. That is all they are offering.
Thoughts and prayers just aren't enough here now, because these kids were actually praying.
At the end of the day, thoughts and prayers have led us to having more of these deaths, more of these shootings.
Keep us in your thoughts and prayers, but also keep us in the thoughts for action.
That anyone's wrong for praying, God help you.
So let me get this straight. Only 5% of gun owners own this type of gun, and only 4% are ever included in homicides when it comes to this. You want to end the ability for the common man or the person who's just trying to protect their family to own an AR because of something that's involved in 4% of homicides and is only owned by 5% of people. Yeah, give me a break. The numbers back up the fact that this is actually a mental illness problem and not a weapons problem. It sucks that something had to happen in order for the HHS Secretary, RFK Jr., to finally take some action and see exactly what is in the SSRIs that are given to people when they transition from being a man to a woman. And a little portion of the story that was omitted from the explanation when it came to who this person actually is, they changed their name from Robert to Robin when they were 17 years old. Here goes the explanation right here. That's a little portion of it that got omitted from the whole story. Now let's get to RFK Jr. talking about investigating exactly what is in the SSRI medication that, and the ingredients included, that lead to the ideation that led to this tragedy.
So I've never seen that medicine, but you're saying that if you get it, some of the side effects could be homicide?
Well, there are black box warnings on some of these psychiatric drugs that warn about, in their clinical trials, that they saw homicidal ideation. So, we are going into that with an open mind. We're looking, a lot of these studies have not been done in the past because of HIPAA regulations, which protect the privacy of patients. But it's something right now that we are looking at. We need to look at it, and we need to explain why all this violence is happening, and we need to look at every possibility.
So let me get this straight. Some of the hormones that are given to people who are trans, in order for them to transition from a man to a woman, have suicidal and homicidal ideation. And nobody brings this up when they talk about people switching and having gender affirming care and switching from a man to a woman and the psychological effects that it could have on somebody when they take this medication?
Yeah, so I actually participated in medicalizing young people for almost 5 years. And what I saw was that we were harming these kids. They were not getting better. Often their mental health was getting worse.
Are you joking? This should be widespread knowledge. It shouldn't take somebody to die for somebody to investigate this shit. I'm glad that something has happened, but it shouldn't have to happen after somebody gets killed and a bunch of people get shot, and then some people are still in the hospital right now fighting for their lives.
We received a total of 11 patients from this incident. 2 of them were adult patients, 9 pediatric patients. 4 of them required the operating room. And up to this point in time, there have been no fatalities related to any of those patients that were brought to our organization.
Pisses me off. Now, I don't blame Secretary RFK Jr. for not researching this sooner. I'm glad that he's actually doing something about it, and that he's researching the link between suicidal homicidal ideation, SSRIs, and mass shootings. Listen to him make the announcement during a press conference with the Texas governor.
I certainly consider mass shootings a health crisis, and we are doing for the first time real studies to find out what the etiology of that is. And we're looking for the first time at psychiatric drugs. These kind of mass shootings, there's never been a time in America in the history of humanity when people walked into a crowd, into a church or a movie theater or a school or a crowd of strangers and just started randomly shooting. It's happening in our country. Something changed, and it dramatically changed human behavior. And one of the culprits we need to examine is whether the fact that we are the most over-medicated nation in the world.
What's astonishing is the US makes up 5% of the world's population, yet we consume 50% of the world's prescription medication, 50%. We consume 80% of the opiates. So we have an obsession in this country with the use of prescription drugs, which do not cure disease. Let's be clear. What they do is they keep people chronically addicted to medication.
And a lot of those are psychiatric drugs that have black box warnings on them that warn of suicidal and homicidal ideation. So we are doing those studies right now for the first time, and we will have an answer.
Let's do a recap. So, unfortunately, this tragedy happened as a result of this cowardice shooter who had the psychological makeup of one that was also a transgender person who was on medication, on top of a person who had a bunch of violent rhetoric hurled towards them and brainwashed themselves into thinking that not only were they not a man, but they were a woman instead. Combine all of these together and couple them with admiration for school shooters and also people who carry out mass homicides, and you have a witch's brew of a murderous person. Now, given all these circumstantial findings that we've discovered during the course of this episode, I'd like to know your thoughts and perspective on all the things that happened and all the things that we've covered here. The first one being, how do you feel about the Democrats being anti-prayer is needed and people need their hearts healed as a result of them losing their babies and their babies being injured and some even fighting for their lives in the hospital? The second thing, how do you feel about people politicizing this event for basically blaming Donald Trump and gun control laws for the mayhem that ensued on that fateful day in Minneapolis? And lastly, I'd like to know your thoughts or perspective on the possible link between SSRI medication, a hormonal imbalance in the brain, and someone who is transitioning from a man to a woman, and how the psychological makeup results in a person who has been influenced and brainwashed into becoming one of these mass shooters and mass killers. I'd like to know your thoughts and perspective in the comment section below. Oh, and if you thought this episode was interesting and you need a break from all this seriousness and you need just to laugh a little bit, especially given what's happened, I have a new gut-filled funniest jokes compilation that you can watch here. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time on the Vazquez Report.